From wrestling megastars fooling folks into believing their return is right behind the curtain, to fans unleashing hell after supposedly being scammed by an architect, this lot proved that you're right to not trust that devilish beast known as the internet. I'm Gareth from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 more wrestling hoaxes that fooled the internet. Number 10. Becky Lynch is behind the curtain. The sheer lack of Becky Lynch content to consume for the majority of 2020 left the man's fans simply desperate to know precisely when and where their beloved Last Kicker would be returning. And on the night of the 2021 Royal Rumble, it finally looked as though they had their answer as the cheeky Irish sensation tweeted out a photo of the gorilla position's unmistakable red curtain. Of course, Lynch wouldn't actually make a return until the summer, but that still didn't stop WWE themselves from getting in on the swerve, retweeting the star's photo with a "Does this mean what we think it means?" caption. Hilariously, Lynch would double down on these cheeky teases until her eventual SummerSlam comeback, unleashing similarly brilliant Instagram nuggets in the lead up to WrestleMania 37 and Money in the Bank. Number 9. Mia Yim and Keith Lee are on their honeymoon. The news of Keith Lee and Mia Yim finally tying the knot in 2022 was the sort of heartwarming news the wrestling community needs more of, in all honesty, but with Lee being heavily rumored to be appearing in the Land of All Elite around the time of the happy couple's big day and subsequent honeymoon, something didn't quite add up when looking into the pair's social media activity. Yim herself posted out images of the newly married twosome seemingly enjoying a peaceful vacation with her hubby in the lead up to said apparent All Elite debut. Needless to say, some fans were left wondering what in the hell was going on. Would the Limitless One be Tony Khan's latest huge surprise after all? Of course he would, with one fan on Twitter in particular seeing through the hoax and even drawing comparisons between Yim's latest post and a holiday picture she uploaded back in 2020. It was a bit creepy, to be honest. Nice try though, Mia, but nothing was stopping these All Elite fans from basking in Keith's glory. Number 8. Ronda Rousey isn't at the Royal Rumble. Acting as easily the worst kept secret of 2022 so far coming into this year's Royal Rumble, the return of the baddest woman on the planet had been leaked and heavily discussed throughout the week coming into the event. But ever the fan of working those paying their hard-earned cash to come and watch the action going down inside of the squared circle, Ronda Rousey went out of her way to fool some into thinking these seemingly concrete rumors were actually false. Speaking after her triumphant Royal Rumble victory, the former Raw Women's Champion would confess to unleashing a fake live stream in an attempt to trick her fans into thinking she wasn't actually at the Dome, revealing that it was actually a pre-recorded stream taped as though it was actually going down on January 29th. Rousey would state that her real fans quickly saw through the whole thing on a Facebook page. Whatever way you slice it though, Ronda still earned a huge pap on the night, so her cheeky deception must have caught at least a few unsuspecting folks out. Number 7. Seth Rollins scams a fan. Under no circumstances is it ever okay to hop the rail and tackle another human being playing a damn character on a wrestling show. And if that person also just happens to be Brock Lesnar, well, more fool you. In the case of a certain architect getting speared out of his boots on a recent episode of Monday Night Raw, however, it turns out that this apparent unprovoked attack was actually a response to something Seth Rollins had devilishly done to said raging fan. As revealed by Fightful Select Sean Ross Sapp, this unexpected attacker was actually catfished by a fake Rollins account online. Dating all the way back to 2019, this fan was scammed out of hundreds of dollars by the fake Rollins, leading to the attacker having a legitimate beef with the former WWE champion. This all ultimately led to a shocking rail jump and sneak attack on Raw, as the fans still believed Rollins was behind the whole ordeal, with the same person being eventually charged with attempted assault on the back of his actions on the night. Number 6. A cleaner is heading to the Rumble. John Cena doesn't half love playing the loyal WWE universe like a damn fiddle, and never has a tune been so brilliantly lured out of the rabid fantasy booking machine in quite the way it was coming into the 2017 Royal Rumble. A year on from alluding to the impending arrival of the phenomenal AJ Styles at the very same event via Instagram, the face that runs the place was at it again with his references to New Japan Pro Wrestling's cleaner Kenny Omega, kicking things off with a standard photo of the former IWGP Heavyweight Champion on his account. Cena would take things up a few notches with photos of an O and a shot of Mega Man. Sure enough, the dots were joined. But in typical WWE bait and switch fashion, Kenny's arrival in the Land of the Giants never actually came to pass, with the grand final entrance of that year's event being none other than everyone's favorite big dog, Roman Bloody Reigns. Number 5. Various wrestlers caught in the fappening. The leaking and spreading of personal information, documents, or photos of any individual is a deeply despicable act at the best of times. But the unleashing of what appeared to be a rather unsettling amount of deeply private and personal images of some of WWE's brightest stars in the thick of the infamous Fappening hacking event in 2017 brought out some of the darker sides of the wrestling fanbase, with many of those supposed supporters being all too quick to click on and spread these apparent images of the likes of Big E, Summer Rae, and Alexa Bliss. Despite them very much being fake, these WWE names were forced to take to social media to deny their appearance in the revealing images, with WWE star Paige genuinely having her phone hacked a few years back and subsequently having a number of images and videos leaked onto the internet. It goes without saying that attempting to pull off this disgraceful act again and fool fans into thinking more stars had had their personal lives exposed on a global platform is about as cruel and horrendous an act there is. Number 4, the Young Bucks' ridiculous spending habits. Another set of stars who take great pride and pleasure in their ability to work their audience both inside and outside of the squared circle come in the form of the Being the Elite sensations known as the Young Bucks, regularly boasting about how much dollar they and AEW splash out on everything from new trainers to the licensing fees required to play songs like Space Jam's Get Ready for This by 2 Unlimited. It's sometimes difficult to see where the lines between reality and kayfabe are drawn when it comes to Matt and Nick Jackson, but years before their All Elite adventure kicked off, the Superkick Party owners were using their BTE and Twitter platforms, along with a little help from now former All Elite star Cody Rhodes, to fool their fans into thinking they were sparing no expense in bringing them the goods. In one of the group's typically kayfabe tweets back in 2017, the American Nightmare would state that the book spent $26,000 filming the last 40-something seconds of this week's Being the Elite. $26,000. They clearly love their fans. Sure enough, many a fan quickly took this as gospel, believing that the books had forked out the big bucks to ensure the image of a hangman being forced to watch then, now, forever. If you know, you know. Number 3, a phenomenal showdown. A year removed from making his jaw-dropping though slightly botched Royal Rumble and WWE debut all in the same night, the phenomenal AJ Styles had his eyes set on another game-changing moment, with the uploading/sharing of just one captivating image of himself and WWE legend Shawn Michaels squaring up. The then WWE champion almost single-handedly set the wrestling world on fire and convinced everyone something epic was incoming. Sure, HBK hadn't been seen throwing down in a ring since retiring against The Undertaker, but the fact that 2017 Royal Rumble was also set to go down in HBK's home state of San Antonio, Texas, also made this one seem like too much of a marketable opportunity to miss coming into the 30th iteration of the show. But despite whipping the fans up into a mouth-watering frenzy, Styles would ultimately duke it out with John Cena instead in an admitted classic. Adding further insult to injury though, Styles would later admit, "I asked Shawn about a match and he said no. I can't do anything about that. I would love the opportunity to do that match, but I get where he's coming from too." And instead of this phenomenal throwdown, we got that crown jewel anything but greatest hits revival. Number 2, CM Punk's 5-star return. Before finally making a landscape-shifting return to the wrestling world last year, it felt as though not a week went by without someone suggesting the mighty CM Punk could be rearing his head in a promotion, after spending a significant amount of time on the outside looking in. Of course, WWE were always pretty high up on his list of potential landing spots, despite the very public bad blood shared between the two parties. But another unlikely promotion also seemed to be in pole position to land the illustrious first Punk appearance in years back in 2017, apparently offering the voice of the voiceless an eye-watering $1 million to lace up his boots once again. 5-Star Wrestling founder Daniel Hinkles openly admitted to reaching out to Punk in an attempt to reintroduce him to the wrestling world. This felt like as good an alternative offer as Punk was ever going to get outside of WWE, and in the years before All Elite Wrestling's inception. Despite looking like pulling off the unthinkable for a spell though, the entire thing would end up feeling like more of a publicity stunt than anything else, and 5-Star Wrestling would ultimately fold in 2018, without a Punk in sight. Number 1, Cody Rhodes is on his way to Saudi Arabia. From the minute it became clear that Cody Rhodes would be leaving AEW and entering the free agency market for real once again, talk of joining back up with what many All Elite fans perceive as the enemy for some reason began to do the rounds. But some were led to believe that his return would come sooner rather than later, on the back of a leaked image reportedly showing Rhodes posing with a fan in a Polish airport. Those convinced that this meant Cody was Elimination Chamber bound lapped up the idea of the former TNT champion transferring from Warsaw to Jeddah. But in reality, the image in question was nothing more than a cheeky piece of photoshopping, as revealed by Twitter user Manik. This edited photo was just a piece of fun designed to pop the Polish wrestling community, with the suggestion that Cody was heading to Primetime Wrestling to be the promotion's new CEO. The shot in question was taken from a meet and greet in in 2021 and edited to make it look like this nightmare was set to depart the airline, when in reality he was reportedly just chilling in Orlando.